Hi, and welcome back. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my channel. You heard it right. All I want for Christmas are these stocks. Got me thinking about what stocks I'm looking forward to in the next year. Basically, everything that I've read and what I think is going to perform well in the future is in this video. I know that I'm not super educated, I'm not an expert on this, but I do want to go ahead and, I guess, compare what I think is going to do well and what I've read to what other people have read. I think that's always a valuable tool. So on the year, I always like showing this. We can see I'm up $20 overall, which is definitely good compared to the last couple weeks. Live, not doing great on the last day. Today is Christmas. Market was closed, so this is all Bitcoin. Down just a smidge, nothing to worry about at all. On the last week, we can see that I'm up. More importantly, on the last month and 3 months, I am doing very well. So in the past month, up about 2.5%, as we can see, huge growth trend. Past 3 months, up 3.5%, which is awesome to see this huge growth trend. So we'll go ahead and talk about these stocks that I'm excited for. So a couple of them I already own. Vivint Solar, as we can see, talk about it every week. Using the dividends that I've received, I did buy one more share this week, up to 43 shares and an average cost of $6.91, up $31 on that all time, just over 10%. So that's awesome to see. Always love talking about this one. On the last month, up quite a bit. Over the last 3 months, up not very much because we saw this large dip. But as we can see, at one point it was down almost 20%. So we are seeing a large upward trend again over the last year. This is even happening more so, as I always talk about. Would have loved to buy more Vivint Solar in the past. The solar industry is growing, continues to grow, and there's a lot of indicators that it will continue to grow in the future. So, like I said, this is definitely something that I want to continue to look at in the future. Microsoft, I've talked about quite a bit. I've done terrific on this. This is probably my best single purchase of a stock. Over the last month, they're up considerably. Over the last year, they're up considerably. And if we look at the 5 years, really great. 230% growth in the last 5 years. I've talked about why this is. We can attribute it to a lot of different things, but for the most part, it has to do with their cloud service, Microsoft Azure. I've talked about this in multiple videos. But this is a huge moneymaker for Microsoft, and as the cloud infrastructure space continues to increase, there's no reason to think that Microsoft is going to fail. So that's definitely awesome to see. Now, the next one that I'll talk about that I currently own is AT&T. So trading for just about $39, up 4% on that one. 4% growth in the last couple months is very good, but on top of that, we have to remember that AT&T pays a solid dividend, so that's always awesome to see. So we'll go ahead and look. Past 3 months, we've had some ups and downs, but definitely good overall. Now, when we look at my portfolio, like I said, down on the day, up in the last couple months, but this constant growth in the last month has been awesome to see. I've talked about it a little bit, but I think my goal for this portfolio is to increase my dividends as much as possible. And so I've, I guess, allocated my future money towards these stocks that I have pulled up already. Now, the first of these is Netflix. Now, a lot of people are saying stay away from Netflix. I think the more that I've thought about it, this should continue to perform well in the future. Obviously, Disney Plus coming out was not great news for Netflix, but the way that I see it, Netflix and Disney Plus can, I guess, remain competitors and continue to thrive on their own. This is because even though Disney Plus has a lot of original content, Netflix does too. Netflix is still the largest player in the market, and I think that it will continue to happen that way, really. Over the last month, we can see pretty good gains. Over the last year, up and down. Interestingly enough, in July, they tanked. In September, they tanked. And if I remember correctly, Disney Plus actually came out right here on November 11th. So not a huge drop at all. I guess I had anticipated a large drop for them. This is another company that's interesting. If we go ahead and look at their ratings, their buy ratings, pretty good. Their earnings have been solid, and in the last quarter, they crushed earnings, so that's awesome to see. So definitely something I want to look forward to. It's not currently paying a dividend, but that's not a reason to shy away from it, in my opinion. Next, we have Amazon. They're a behemoth. Everybody knows about them. And this goes back to the cloud infrastructure that I was talking about previously. Amazon's the leader in this. This is where they make the most of their money. It's their bread and butter. It's currently trading just under $1,800. So on the last month, we can see up 1%. On the last year, up 30%. And the 5 years is what's great on Amazon, up just under 500%. And I know that some people are worried about Amazon's price going up so quickly that it doesn't have room to grow from here, but I don't see it that way. Amazon's such a huge market player, especially around the holiday seasons. You think about it, it's almost impossible to avoid Amazon. They're everywhere. They're the most convenient, they're the most readily available, and that's awesome to see. Um, but if we look at their earnings, this is where it gets interesting, is that they had increasing earnings there for about a year. Their earnings are declining. A lot of people think this is because they're currently losing money. They're trying to roll out their 1-day shipping for Prime members. Currently, it's 2-day free shipping for Prime members. But a lot of people believe that just like 2-day shipping was for Amazon, it'll be unprofitable at first, but in the long run, as they increase the number of packages that they're delivering, they'll get more efficient, better with it, and will be profitable in that aspect. So definitely something to look out for in the long run. Now, the next one that we're going to look at is Shell. It's a little bit different than the stocks I typically look at. So these are preferred shares, meaning that if anything goes wrong in the case of bankruptcy, you will get paid off first. Now, the reason this is so interesting to me is that the dividend is quite high. Last time I checked, it's just over 6%. As I've mentioned in the past, Robinhood's figures are a little bit funky, but definitely the energy sector is something that I want to diversify into. Clearly, with Vivint Solar, I've invested into solar energy. I think Vivint can continue to do well and solar can, but that doesn't mean that oil and gas is going to struggle. I think that realistically, oil and gas is going to be a pretty good play in the next 10 to 20 years. There's no reason to think that really natural gas or oil will die of quick death. Certainly, it will be phased out in the future, but I don't think it's going to happen super quickly. Over the last month, not a whole lot of movement. Over the last 3 months, up a little bit. 5 years, it is down. But again, this pays a very high dividend. A lot of people think the energy sector will continue to do well. Now, the last one I think is one of the most interesting, Apple. So over the last 5 years, I think this is where we're seeing the large growth trend. So up 150%, but over the last year, up 90%. That's where most of those gains have come from. Now, I did some reading this past week, and what I found is that as the 5G networks continue to roll out, cell phone companies, specifically Apple being the third largest in the world, are going to see an uptick in sales because 5G capable phones are going to be not a necessity within the next year or two, but definitely a hot ticket item. And also in the holiday season, their sales of AirPods Pro were much higher than they'd anticipated, which definitely came as a shock. They have sold out a lot of places. Apple does pay a dividend, not super high, but when we look at their earnings, we can see that they are consistently making money. Q1 of this year, they made a lot of money, which crushed their expectations, but definitely a stock that many people think can continue to perform well in the future. Robinhood's buy rating of 56% does indicate this. I've got a couple other stocks listed. Sprint would be a prime example, but I think that Sprint is another good one. Again, when this 5G infrastructure really rolls out in large scale, cell phone providers and cell phone plan providers are going to have to work together to solve this. And from everything that I've read, said that Sprint and T-Mobile are really poised to make a play and increase their market share. AT&T and Verizon have really been the largest two for a long time. And this could change within the next 5 years, depending on how the whole 5G infrastructure thing plays out. I think it's very interesting, and thank you for watching my video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll be back next week. I keep promising this other content. It's coming out. I promise. It's coming. Might be a little bit longer, but it's coming. So thank you.